Hello and welcome to Rebus Cloud. In this video tutorial, we would take a look at complex survey scripting. Scripting refers to the process of implementing the logic given for a survey. This is done using JavaScript as the scripting language. JavaScript functions and tags can be embedded within the HTML pages and script.js file to add desired logic to the variables. In this demo, we will cover some JavaScript functions and tag attributes that play an important role in implementing the complexities involved in the survey logic. The prerequisites for advanced survey scripting are Visual Studio version 10 or above and the solution.zip file which you get from the variables section in your Rebus Cloud project home. Let's take a look at how to do complex survey scripting. Here you can see a sample survey. Let's take a look at the survey logic. Question 1 says, do you use a laptop PC? If the respondent opts for yes, survey should continue, else the survey should terminate. Question 2 says, which of the following laptop brands have you used? Please select 4 brands. Here, the respondent needs to select 4 brands out of the given 8 brands. If he selects less than or more than 4 brands, he should get an error message. Question 3 says, out of these brands, which brand do you use the most? This should be a single choice type question and should show the responses entered in question 2 as its options. For example, if the respondent has selected Dell, HP, Asus and Sony in question 2, the same will appear as options here in question 3. Question 4 says, how satisfied are you with the brand? This should be a single choice type question. Here, smileys should show up against each option. Question 5 says, how would you rate the brands based on the following factors? This should be a grid type question where the responses entered in question 2 should show up in the header. Now here, the respondent is supposed to rate the brands on a scale of 1 to 5 based on these factors. Next, question 6 says, please rank the brands based on your level of satisfaction. This should be a grid type question where the responses entered in question 2 should appear as row options. This should be a simple grid where the respondent needs to select a rank for each brand. Next, question 7 says, how likely are you to purchase products from the following brands? This should also be a grid type question where the brand names here are fixed. The respondent is supposed to specify his intention to purchase for each of these brands. Initially, the drop-down against the first brand should only be enabled. rest of the drop-downs should be disabled. The next drop-down should enable once the respondent selects an option in the previous drop-down. Once the respondent submits his choices for this question, the survey should complete. Now, as we have understood the survey logic, let's create the variables.csv file for this survey. Go to your project home and click on Canvas Survey. Then on Questionnaire Survey Setup and then on Variables. Now click on Download and then on Template CSV. Here you can see the CSV got downloaded. Let's open this file. Now, as you can see, this file shows some sample data. You need to delete this data and fill up the CSV with the variable data in your survey. Let's first delete this sample data. Make sure not to delete the first row in the CSV, as this lists the fields which need to be entered for each variable in the survey. Let's now add the variables needed for this survey. For question 1, we can create a single choice type variable. Let's name it Q1. Let's enter its type here. Some of the fields here are optional, so we can skip them for now. Let's now enter yes here and make this variable a fixed variable. Let's now enter the variable label here. So this will create the variable. Since it's a single choice type variable, we need to create its options as well. Let's create entries for its options. This will create the options for the first variable in the survey. Similarly, you can create other variables. Here you can see we have completed the CSV. Let's take a quick look at this. For question 2, we have created a multiple choice type variable. Now if you remember, question 2 had 8 options in total, and some of the remaining questions in the survey were based upon the selected options. So we have created a shared list called brand names here, which we will be sharing with associated questions. Now as you can see, we have added this shared list under the options of question 2. This completes our question 2. Now within question 3, which is a single choice type question, we have again added this shared list under its options. This means question 3 will also have 8 options. But we need to filter these options and show only the selected options to the respondent. This will be achieved during runtime through scripting. Moving on to the next question, we have created a single choice type variable for question 4 here. As per the survey, question 4 is supposed to have images against each of its options. These images need to be added through the label management section in Rebus Cloud. We will take a look at this shortly. Next, question 5 needs to be a grid type question. To implement the grid, we need to create multiple variables. Variable 1 will be an info type variable storing the question label. Variable 2 will be a single choice type variable storing the question header. Next, there will be info type variables to show the questions in each row in the grid. And then there will be single choice type variables to show the rating dropdowns in each column in the rows. Now here you can see we have created an info type label variable. Next, we have created a single choice type header variable and have added the shared list under its options. We need to further add script to filter shared list options and show only the selected options in the header. Next, we have created 4 info type row variables to show the questions in the grid. And after that, we have created 32 single choice type variables to show the rating dropdowns. Now as you can see here, we have created another shared list called rating codes and have added that under the options of these single choice type variables. If we go down and see, the shared list consists of 5 rating codes. These codes will appear as options for all the 32 single choice type column variables in the grid. This completes our question 5. Next, question 6 is again a grid type question. To implement this grid, we will again create multiple variables. Variable 1 will be an info type variable storing the question label. Variable 2 will be a single choice type variable storing the question header. And then there will be single choice type variables for each row in the grid. Now here you can see we have created an info type label variable. Next, we have created a single choice type header variable and have added a shared list called rank codes in the header options. Now if we go downwards and see, the shared list consists of 4 rank codes. These codes will appear as options in the header. Next, we have created 8 single choice type variables for each of the brand name. We have also added the rank codes shared list under the options of these variables. This will make the brand names appear as questions and the ranks appear as options for the brands. We will further add script to filter the brands and show only selected brands in the question. Next, we have question 7, which is the last question in the survey. This is also a grid type question. To implement this grid, we will create an info type variable to store the question label. Next, we will create 3 info type variables to show the brand names, which are fixed. And then we will create 3 single choice type variables to show the intent to purchase drop-downs in the columns in each row in the grid. Now here you can see we have created an info type label variable for question 7. Next, we have created 3 info type variables for each brand name. And then we have created 3 single choice type variables and have added a shared list called intent to purchase under their options. Now if we go downwards and see, the intent to purchase shared list consists of 5 options. These will appear in each of the drop-downs in the grid in question 7. We would further add script to implement the disable enable functionality on these drop-downs. So here our CSV is ready. Let's save this file. We can now upload this CSV in Rebus Cloud. Once the variables are uploaded, we would download the solution and add logical script to the survey. Let's first upload the CSV. Go back to your project home and click on Upload. Now click on Choose File. Browse and select the saved CSV and click on Open. Now click on Upload. And as you can see here, the variables got uploaded. Let's now download the solution. Click on Download and then on Solution. Here you can see the downloaded solution is a zip file. Let's unzip the contents of this file. The solution is unzipped. We can now open it for scripting. Open Visual Studio IDE from your Start menu or Start screen. Now open the unzipped solution in the IDE. We are now all set to script the survey. First and foremost, we need to create pages for this survey. The pages should be created under the Pages folder here. Let's create a new page. Right-click on Pages, then on Add New Item. Now select HTML page and click on Add. Now on this page, we will show question 1. Let's rename this page as q1.html. Now let's write the script to show question 1 on this page. Since the first question is single choice type, we will be using RC single tag here. Start with the RC tag and use the QName attribute to call question 1 on this page. The value entered here is the same value which we have entered under variable name for question 1 in the CSV. You may also use other supported tags within the RC tag. Please refer our technical help document to know all the tags. Next, let's create another page. Right-click on the Pages folder and click on Add New Item. Again, select HTML page and click on Add. Our second question is a multiple choice type question. So we are using RC multi tag to show the second question on this page. Let's rename this page as q2.html. Next, let's create another page to show question 3 and rename this page as q3.html. Since question 3 is a single choice type question, we are using RC single tag here to show question 3 on this page. Next, let's create a page for question 4. And rename it as q4.html. Now let's write the script to show question 4, which is a single choice type question on this page. Let's now create another page and rename it as q5.html. Since question 5 is a grid type question, we will be using RC table tag here to show question 5 on this page. Now as you can see, we have called the label variable inside the parent RC table tag. This will create the top label of the grid. Next, let's create a row tag. As you can see here, we have called the header variable inside this child tag and marked this row as header. This will create the header part of the grid. Next, let's create another row tag and call the row variable inside this tag. Under this tag, we need to create 8 column tags to rate each brand. Let's create the tags one by one. Now as you can see, we have called the column variable inside these tags. This complete row tag will create the first row in the grid. Similarly, we can write the script to create rest of the 3 rows. Let's quickly write the script. Now the rows have been made. This completes the script for question 5. Next, let's create a page for question 6. And rename it as q6.html. Since question 6 is a grid type question, we will be using RC table tag to implement the grid in question 6. Let's write the script to create question 6. Here we are creating the header row. Here we are creating the rest of the rows in the grid. Now the script for question 6 is ready. Let's now create a new page for question 7. Let's rename this page as q7.html and write the script for question 7. Again, question 7 is a grid type question. So we are using RC table tag to create question 7. Now all the survey question pages are ready. Let's quickly create two more pages. One for survey completion and another for survey termination. Since we don't have a header in question 7, we are not creating a header row here. Now all the survey question pages are ready. Let's quickly create 2 more pages. One for survey completion, and another for survey termination. We have an end node in Rebus Cloud to indicate whether the survey has been completed or terminated. On the survey completion page, we will use the end node to mark the survey status as complete. Let's write the code. This is the code to mark the survey as complete. Notice the C here in complete should be in capital. Next, we can write a message on this page just before the end node to tell the respondent that he has successfully completed the survey. Now on the survey termination page, we will use the end node to mark the survey status as terminated. Let's write the code. This is the code to mark the survey as terminated. Notice the T here in terminate should be in capital. Now at the same time, we can write a message on this page just before the end node to tell the respondent that his survey is terminated. Now the pages are ready. Let's add logic to these pages. First of all, open script.js. Now let's enter a name for the survey in flowservice.setSurveyName function. Let's now call the pages here in flowservice.sequence function. The flowservice.sequence function defines the flow of the pages in the survey. Now let's create the survey logic. To implement this logic, we can create a function. The function needs to be written within the scope of the RC player controller function. Let's write the function. This is how you can write a flow service function in Rebus Cloud. Flow service dot function name is equal to function parenthesis then curly brackets. Inside the curly brackets you can write the logic. As you can see here, this logic says if the option answered for variable q1 contains q102, go to survey termination page. This is the syntax for writing the function. You can refer the syntax for all the supported functions in the technical help document of Rebus Cloud. The function, let's call this function in the flow service.sequence function. The function should be called after page 1. Let's run the script and see the output of the function. Right-click on index.html and then click on Set as Start Page. Now click on Start Debugging button here or press F5 from your keyboard. The survey opens up in the browser. Let's check the logic we have just defined. Let's choose option 2 in question 1 and see if it terminates the survey. Yes, this option is taking us to the survey termination page. This means the logic is working fine. Let's switch back to Visual Studio and create rest of the logic. Click on End Debugging button to stop debugging. Next, according to the survey, the respondent must select exactly 4 brands in question 2. If he selects less than or more than 4 brands, he should get an error message. Function for this condition. This is how we can define functions using $scope in Rebus Cloud. As you can see here, we have created an array and got the answered options of variable 2 stored in the array. Then we have applied an if condition here. According to the condition, if the length of the array is not equals to 4, display a message, please select 4 brands. The clear error function clears the error message once the respondent selects 4 brands. This covers our logic for question 2. Let's call the function on q2.html. The function should be called within the validate script attribute of the variable q2. Now let's create the next function. According to the survey, question 3 should show only those brands as options which the respondent has selected in question 2. Now here you can see, in this function, we are storing the responses entered in question 2 in an array and then returning those options. Now let's call this function on q3.html. The function should be called within opt_show attribute of q3. This will show the values returned from the function q3 opt_show as options of q3. Next, for the condition which says question 5 should show the brands selected in question 2 as its options, we can write a similar function and call the function on q5.html at header level. And labels in the header, not the drop-downs. To filter the drop-downs, we need to create another function to restrict the column entries based on the header options. Let's quickly create the function. Now as you can see, in this function we have passed an argument quest name which we are concatenating with the option codes of the answered options in question 2. Now let's call this function on q5.html. The function needs to be called within the call show attribute at the row level. Now here we have passed incomplete column names. This, in combination with the concatenated option codes, will decide which columns to show on runtime. For example, if the user selects options with option code 2, 3, 5 and 7, the function will generate Q5R1C2, Q5R1C3, Q5R1C5, Q5R1C7 and show only these columns in the grid. Next, let's write another function. According to the survey, question 6 should show the responses entered in question 2 as its row questions. This type of condition can be handled through the row mask function. Let's quickly write the function. Now here we are concatenating the variable name Q6R with the option codes of the unanswered options in question 2. This will generate the desired rows in question 6. Let's call this function on q6.html. The function should be called within the row mask attribute at table level. Implement the enable disable functionality on the drop-downs of question 7. This can be done simply by using the enabled on attribute at the column level of variable Q7. Lastly, we need to add images against the options of question 4. This can be done through label management. Switch back to your Rebus Cloud account and go to Canvas Survey, then Questionnaire Survey Setup, then Label Management. Now click on Download CSV icon against Default English, where default is the context and English is the language. This will download a CSV file. Now go to Solution folder and create a new folder under the Project folder. Name it as Images. And place the images for question 4 in this folder. Now open the downloaded CSV and create entries for images for variable Q4 as shown here. Enter the image name in the default column. The file is ready. Let's now save this file. Now on the label management page, click on Upload CSV icon against default English. Now click on Choose File. Then browse and select the saved CSV. Now click on Upload. As you can see here, the file with image information has been uploaded. Once this is done, you can compress the solution of your project into a zip file, upload it in Rebus Cloud, and activate the solution. Once the solution is activated, the logic should work for the survey. Let's check the logic. Go to the activation page in your Rebus Cloud account and click on Get Link icon. Select a language, a context for the survey, and click on Test Link button. As you can see here, a link gets generated. Copy this link and paste it in your browser window. The survey is now open. Let's test the survey. The logic for question 1 says, if option 1 is selected, survey should continue, else survey should terminate. Let's select option 1. Question 2 is getting displayed. Now let's go back and select option 2. survey termination page is appearing. This means the logic for question 1 is correct. Now let's check the logic for question 2. According to the logic, the respondent should get an error message if he selects less than or more than 4 options in question 2. Let's select 3 options only. The error message is getting displayed. This means the logic is correct. Now let's select 4 options. Notice we have selected Apple, HP, Sony and Toshiba. Let's move to the next question. Here you can see only Apple, HP, Sony and Toshiba have appeared as options in question 3. Let's select an option and move to the next question. Here you can see images have appeared with options in question 4. Let's move to question 5. Now here only Apple, HP, Sony and Toshiba are shown in the header, which is the required logic. Let's quickly answer this question and move to question 6. Now here you can see only Apple, HP, Sony and Toshiba have appeared as row questions in the grid. This means the logic for question 6 is also correct. Let's rank these brands and move to the next question. Now here you can see for question 7 only the first drop down is enabled. Let's select an option here. And as you can see, the second drop down got enabled while the third is still disabled. Let's select an option in the second drop down. And as you can see, the third drop down also got enabled. This means the logic for question 7 is also correct. Let's select an option here and move further. Survey completion page has arrived. This confirms that the survey is working fine. This brings us to the end of this video tutorial. Thanks for watching.